Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Journey to Authentic Living episode. I'm really excited. I have a very special guest, at least to me, one of my favorite people, markwshihadeh. See, I'm
Good.
probably not going to, yeah, there we go.
Uh-huh.
So let me tell you a little bit about Mark. He is a certified life coach, certified law of attraction practitioner, and advanced level 4 certified faster EFT practitioner. And so Mark has studied the art of self-empowerment and the law of attraction for over 35 years. He has made it his life to study and to master the nuances of successful applications of the law of attraction, which is really going to be the topic for today. So I'm really excited to have Mark on. And so he has alluded, as you said, tried and failed to achieve, the law of attraction, and helping people, though, overcome some of those challenges. And when he discovered a tool called Faster EFT, which I'm also studying Faster EFT, but he studied it back in 2014, he recognized that his healing modality is the fastest and best way to allow the law of attraction to work in our lives. And since then, Mark has worked to gain 5 certifications in Faster EFT, ultimately becoming an advanced level 4 practitioner. And so with Faster EFT tapping and leading edge of the law of attraction techniques, Mark has helped clients find the love of their lives, heal chronic physical pain, break out from debilitating shyness and social anxiety, get rid of a lifetime of annoying allergies, heal and make peace with past family traumas, and go from habits of self-criticism to empowering habits of loving self-talk and confident thoughts. So is that a pretty good introduction right there?
I never liked these bios things.
I know, but we want to introduce people.
Yeah, but you did a great job. I like how you read it and you just made it sound.
Yeah, it was a little, I'm trying to do that. So tell us
really good.
Yeah, tell us a little bit. Now, you're in Northern California.
Yes.
And are born and raised?
Born and raised San Francisco. Mm-hmm.
Very cool. All right, so we're both Californians.
Right.
And so tell us a little bit about your life, a little bit growing up, and how your home life was a little bit.
Yeah. So growing up, like my family worried a lot. And so I worried a lot. And I was a little kid and I just, I would overanalyze and overthink. And I remember also I would go to a scary movie and then I'd go home and I would think about it and I would haunt myself, and just stay up at night overthinking it and scaring myself. So from a really young age, I wanted to learn how thoughts affect us and how to control thoughts, and self-help type of books and self-help and self-confidence, books about self-confidence. So that's been my study. When I was even maybe 11 or 12, I started reading these books.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Like me.
Really same thing, huh?
Yeah. I mean, not so much the law of attraction, but definitely more of a spiritual, metaphysical kind of, stuff.
Yeah.
Do you remember Terry Cole Whitaker?
I do not.
Okay. I think she's sort of like the godmother of really even Louise Hay, because Louise Hay came after her. But she went off the grid, Terry Cole Whitaker, but she was in this area where I live in San Diego. And so we would go listen to her. And she was all about positive thought and how to, control your thoughts and control yourself. And, so anyway.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah. I didn't come across her, but do you know the Seth books?
I do. I think I even have a couple, maybe.
Yeah. Well, my mom had that book and I finally got into it and then I read all of them. I got really deep into the Seth books.
Wow.
Which are pretty deep. Yeah. And then of course, Anthony Robbins, my mom had an Anthony Robbins tapes. Mm-hmm. And back in the day, Anthony Robbins, he was just on the cheesy kind of late night commercials. But when I listened to these tapes, I was like, wow, I like this guy, so I got into Anthony Robbins and I started reading all his book, Deepak Chopra. Yeah. And Law of Attraction didn't come out till I studied it in the 80s, like 84, when Abraham Hicks started to come around. And then I became huge into Abraham Hicks.
So it sounds like we have something else in common, because
Mm-hmm.
my mother exposed me to everything that you were saying that your mom did too. So it sounds like
Right.
your mom exposed you to a lot of more metaphysical
Yeah.
kind of things. And so that really impressed you. Now, do you have siblings?
I have two, a brother and a sister.
And are they also influenced?
Not really. Not really.
Yeah.
No, not at all. My brother was like the sports jock,
Yeah.
and I was like the musician.
Yeah.
I don't know,
Oh, wow.
overthinker, sensitive type. I don't know. Yeah, and
Excellent.
she kind of indirectly influenced me. Like it was just there around. I guess because she was into it, but just for having the stuff in the house, like the Anthony Robbins and the books. So I kind of just picked it up and checked it out.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So that was
How-
really just kind of part of your being exposed to some of these things, which then came, it sounds like, the law of attraction. So tell us, what really got you hooked with the law of attraction.
All right. So my aunt got me into Abraham Hicks. So my aunt is into Buddhism and and spiritual teachings, and she's a seeker. And so she sent me Abraham Hicks tapes once, and I thought it was weird at first, and I thought, like, I don't know about, because it was channeling, and I was like, I don't know if I believe it, because I was young, but the information was amazing. So I thought the information was genius. So I thought, well, it doesn't matter if I believe in like the channeling and whatnot. Just the information was so good. And so I started to get the tapes, like the tapes of the workshops, and I would get them twice a month. And I got those for, I think, about 30 years. I ate them up. I loved it. I couldn't get enough of it. And I wanted to study it. I really wanted to master the law of attraction. And so every kind of question that anyone had, I wanted to see how Abraham would answer it. And that was what amazed me, was how she was never stumped, or they were never stumped. They would always answer the question. And I just really vibed with those answers. So that's how I kind of got into it.
What was really attracting? Was it the channeling part that you, what was attracting about it? If you can recall.
It was kind of like what I was looking for. In a way, it's a religion without the religion, like the spiritual part of it. And it was just the answers to how to attract what you want, right? And how to really do it. Like The Secret. Are you familiar with The Secret?
I am. And this was like back in 2005, I think, when it first came out. And I was listening to the tapes, and of course we'll get to that later, but definitely
Right.
I was kind of turned off by it. Actually, it sounded, it
Maybe
sounded always
materialistic.
about like materialistic. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So The Secret is based off of law of attraction, and it is based off of Abraham Hicks' work. And there's also a version of The Secret with Abraham Hicks in it. And I've seen that version. And so I remember Abraham Hicks always talking about the law of attraction. And then I heard about The Secret. And I'm like, what? What's The Secret? The Secret is a law of attraction? Oh, that's Abraham Hicks. Because they were the only people talking about it. And so what I guess Rhonda Burns, what she did with The Secret is she wanted to make it accessible to everybody. So it's, you would say, maybe a watered down version of the law of attraction. And, how much can you get? If you want to reach the masses, how, I guess, spiritual or how metaphysical can you get without losing people? So I think it's good that she introduced the information to the masses, and people wouldn't know Abraham Hicks if it wasn't for Rhonda Burns and The Secret.
Really? That's interesting.
Yeah.
I thought it was, it was separate. I thought for some reason that it was a little separate. So,
well, they kind of made it separate after, so it was supposedly first supposed to be a, what was it supposed to be? It was supposed to be a movie. And so they did the contracts with Esther Hicks and Jerry Hicks based on that. And then when they decided it was going to be a DVD or I think it was going to be a TV special. And then they decided that it was going to be a DVD. So they went to the Hicks people and they said, well, can we change the contracts? And they wanted to give them less money. And basically, the Hicks said, well, why don't you just take us out of the video? You know, they were nice about it, but they said, well, that's okay. So that's why they kind of made it separate.
Okay.
But again, there's
because
a version.
they entered, it was a little, it felt that way too. Now that I know, really, after all these years, because it was 2006 and I still have the CDs. So it sounds like that, you know, it just felt a little bit different, but
right.
wow, you really do know kind of what's going on. So that's cool. That's good.
Yeah.
So when did you know that the law of attraction worked for you? Is there something you could share to say like, wow, this is. Yeah,
that's a great question. I have a quick little story it's on my podcast, my first episode, when I talked about my story, but I'll just repeat it again real quickly.
Yeah.
So there was a time, let's see what happened. I had a recording studio, and that was going to be my life. I was never going to work a 9 to 5. I was always going to do music, and I'm just going to do my own thing. And I was kind of rebellious, like in my 20s, and I'm never going to have a boring office job. And then the recording studio lasted about 6 years. And at the end, I knew I had to do something different. So I closed up shop. I was like, okay, it's not fun anymore. But I don't know what I'm going to do. And I did have a degree, but it was in speech and communications. It was in communications. It wasn't really, I didn't get a degree to get a job because I was never going to I was going to always work for myself. And I thought I was going to always be music. So I found myself lost, and I found myself like, what am I going to do? And I was living at the time with my girlfriend, who is now my wife. I was living with Kelly, and I needed to come up with rent. We're living in a condo. So I started to do temp jobs, and I wasn't making a lot of money. And these temp jobs, I had a hard time. Like, I wasn't happy, and I wasn't being challenged. It was a low period in my life. Have you heard of the dark night of the soul?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was my dark night of the soul.
Okay.
I was struggling.
I think we have actually a few. I think we can have a few of them in a lifetime, but yeah.
Right. Yeah. That was one of them.
Wow.
That was one of them. And so I was lost. And then I thought, well, I have this some of the recording equipment. Let me try to do jingles. Let me try to do it a different way. So I started another little business, and it failed miserably. I won't go into details. So that I lost faith in myself. And so I'm broke. I got to I don't know what I'm going to do for money, to do something that I like to do. And so at that time, I knew the Abraham Hicks stuff. I knew the law of attraction, but I wasn't really applying it. So what I did was I said, you know what? My way isn't working. After all this struggling, I'm going to really try the law of attraction way. And so the law of attraction way is to feel good, even if you don't think you deserve to feel good. Feel as good as you can. So what I started to do was drive around in my car, and I would just park somewhere with a nice view, and I would just chill out, listen to music, meditate, and just look at the view and chill out, instead of before just struggling and trying to figure out what I'm going to do and working hard and looking for jobs and trying different things. So, which was hard to just go in a car and chill out, because I didn't feel like I deserved to do that. I felt like I need to, the kind of, you got to, the action oriented, Western society that we live in, you got to make something happen, make it happen. So, but I said, okay, my way wasn't working. So I would chill out, and I would start to feel a little bit better. And then I would do that every day. And I would just kind of relax into it, and just for no reason, just chill out, feel good. And I started to get out of my slump. And then I attracted a job that was like pretty good. I really liked it. And then I attracted another job, which became something that I loved. It was computer programming, which I got trained on the job. And it sounds like a boring office job, but I loved computer programming. It was my first major. And so it was and I loved the group of people I was working with, and it was creative, and I made a lot of money, and I was able to, buy a car and get to a point where I felt confident enough to, that I had my income steady enough so that I can marry Kelly. So it kind of like turned everything around. And it was because I chilled out in the car, not trying to make something happen. And so as I did that, the idea is to sound kind of metaphysical and woo-woo out there, but my vibration raised, and I was able to get ideas and to also, let the universe orchestrate events on my behalf. And so things started just to happen and jive into place. And that's from not trying. Now doesn't mean I didn't do anything, but I wasn't trying to force things on my own, what I think the way it would happen. Instead, it would be feel good and wait for inspiration. So that's kind of the key of law of attraction. So that's kind of how I knew it.
I really like that. Yeah, I really like that. And it kind of goes into what I wanted to a little bit, because as you and I talked previously, I mean, for those of you out there listening to this or watching this, there was a long time where I was trying to get into the law of attraction as well. It just, for me, it seemed like it didn't work. And I tried to do everything. I don't know if, it's the same thing, I don't know, I could have been probably not ready or what have you, or the resistance we were talking about even earlier, but it was just, I read all the books, read many books, many Abraham Hicks books. And I was trying to feel, I was trying to be in the feeling, but it really just, I felt sabotage. It wasn't really, at the time I was living with my husband in Colorado Springs. We moved there for 8 years, and I tried to really surrender. And there were moments where I did, where I concentrated on but it just really turned me off. And I remember that a good friend of mine, a colleague of mine, Barbara, she was teaching Reiki. And so, and I had learned Reiki as well, but she was teaching Reiki, and she says, well, you've got to do it this way and that way. But I just couldn't. I just became bitter for whatever reason. I mean, I've changed my mind on it because actually, thanks to you, Mark, that, and also Robert Smith, with Faster EFT, to be honest, as well. Yeah. So I want to give him credit, because I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't really, and I think you and I sound like we've done a lot of different modalities, and we've practiced a lot of things, and, and the hoping and the praying and the trying to surrender and all those concepts out there. So with someone who is just, so do you believe, is that what you're saying, that, really just get into the space of feeling good? Is that kind of how you would suggest?
And by the way, I've tried a lot of it too. And I got, there was a point where I said, well, if I can have anything I want, then I can eat anything I want. So, and really try to believe, that my metabolism is fast. And, that didn't work. I just gained weight. Right. So I've tried, I like you, I tried and I guess failed, different things of how I can attract things. And I guess when we're new to it, that's what we're doing. But I just kind of, So, but each time I did it, I guess I thought it's just me not doing it correctly. So that's why I kind of wanted to study more. Like, okay, what am I doing wrong? Like, so there's a lot of nuances to it. And there is, so there's the thing about feelings. So let's say I want a red sports car. So let's say someone who knows the law of attraction would say, well, you want to get the feeling of what it would feel like to have that red sports car, right? That's a material example, an example of a material object. But so what a lot of people would do is they'd say, oh, I want all these things. I want this car and I want a big house. So I want to do the feeling of it.
Yeah.
But when you're trying to make something happen that way, you can also sabotage yourself, because you're thinking you want the red car to make you feel better, right? But what you really want is to feel better. Yeah. Or if you want the red car because you think it'll make you look good, with high status, or with, I'd be able to meet women that way, or whatever it is. Well, then I think if you try to use the law of attraction that way, it's not going to really work, because I guess your inner self knows that you don't want the car, you don't need the car to feel better.
Oh, that's interesting.
Right? So you have to feel better inside. And so that's why we say feel good is really the objective, not to make things happen. So the idea of trying to use the law of attraction to make things happen can be counter to using it correctly, right? I want to make a lot of money, so I'm going to try really hard to use the law of attraction to feel how it would be to make money and to I don't know, whatever it is, see it, believe it, and then you'll achieve it type of thing. But it's not the money. It's not about the money. It's how you feel, how you think the money will make you feel. So if you think about how the money will make you feel, well, how will the money make you feel? It'll make me feel secure. It'll make me feel abundant. So then we want to reach for those feelings. How can I feel secure and abundant without the money, right? How can I feel love without the girlfriend, without being married? How can I feel confident without losing weight? So it's a tricky thing. So we work on the essence of it first. And then when we do that, then the idea is that the universe has a better plan than, or God, or whatever you want to call it, has a better way to get these things than we think has, has a better path than the path that we think it would be. So if we don't get into the specifics and we just get into general feelings, then the money can come just by feeling better and then following your inspiration and following the path that can lead you to money and fun and abundance. So I don't know if I'm kind of
I think
right.
You are, and I'm processing as you're talking, and
Yeah.
I'm thinking like, okay, now I know where I failed, because you were saying something earlier, and I'm thinking like, okay, well, I was following some of it is kind of tricky,
tricky.
I think it's the fact, if I'm hearing correctly, you can tell me if this is wrong, but
Yeah.
Probably the reason why I became frustrated with the law of attraction and not really applying it correctly was that there was an expectation. You said, what did you say earlier? I was trying to acquire something, or maybe rather than saying, how do I feel? It's almost like it's almost like regardless of the red car, the sports car, or the girlfriend, or the money, it's like it's almost like a self-confident, self-esteem thing. It's almost like, right? It almost feels like that. And I think maybe that's why perhaps we need to work on the programming.
Yeah.
That is the
right.
obstacle to,
Yeah, exactly. That's why Faster EFT is a great way to work on the programming, Yeah. And I don't get a chance to explain this a lot. So that's why I can think of better ways. The more experience I have in explaining these concepts, because I understand them, but to explain them in a good way, I always want to look for better ways to do that.
Well, I think you did a great job, because see, this is the difficult thing. And it makes me, I wish I had a little bit more time to go back and read the books again to see if I can come from a different perspective.
Right.
I know that The Biology of Belief by Bruce Lipton was another book that I read many years ago as well, that made more sense, even though that's not really the law of attraction. But but I'd like to go back and see if I could sort of see it differently and feel it differently.
Yeah.
And I think I get the essence too. I'm almost, as we're talking right now, it's almost fleeing, but I think you did explain it well. And that's something clicked and said, okay, that's probably why I wasn't achieving, or it was fizzed out, or what have you, is because it's almost like I was waiting for that situation to come to fruition or to manifest itself, rather than just saying I'm kind of okay. I don't know. Maybe I'm not. You're the expert in this one, but
no, that's right.
Yeah, but I think that could be, and that says a lot, I think, about human nature. But yeah, that's great. And is the Joshua Teachings, is this also does this reverberate some of Abraham Hicks' work, or do you think there's a little bit of a difference there too?
It's Joshua's very Abraham Hicks, but it's also just the extension of the law of attraction. So they go in lots of ways even further, and just to take it even further. But Gary Bodley, who is a channeler for Joshua, he was a huge Abraham Hicks and still is. So yeah, it's very similar, and it just goes a little deeper. Mm-hmm. But there's an idea of surrender, right? Surrender and non-attachment. But that's huge. So that's why feeling good, for the sake of feeling good, not feeling good for the sake of making something happen. So that's where we get into trouble, is when we try to do things to make things happen, then actually what we're putting out to the universe that we're incomplete and something's wrong and we're missing something. And we're not. We're not missing anything. We can feel good. We have enough to feel good right now in the moment. It is tricky though. And to get there, it takes a lot of practice.
It does. It sounds like it takes a lot of practice. And like I said, I was pretty bitter about it until I came across a couple years ago Robert's work, and then decided to train as well in faster EFT. And I know that he's got something about the law of attraction. It's a little bit older, I think. I still have it on my laptop, and then I was able to understand sort of the programming. I don't know if you want to speak to that as far as people who, because it is, so for example, let me just take, when I was living in Colorado Springs, I was not really in the best environment, in the sense environment as, I had a home and I was working, but the people, I couldn't really connect. It was a very different culture than I'm accustomed to. And I tried to, so that was kind of my thing, is trying to fit in and find sort of my tribe, if you will. Mm-hmm. And so I was trying to use the law of attraction kind of with that. I don't remember all the details, but maybe you could speak also about, so I can remember in retrospect that there was this limiting belief that even though I was trying to feel good and to remember what it was like to have a good best girlfriend, or to socialize and have a nice time and connect and feel those things, I still kind of recall that there was this doubt. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Very good. So that's where, faster EFT comes in. It's very good to deal with those things. So the idea with faster EFT is that our past memories and our past experience will create these patterns, and we call them metaphoric expressions of metaphoric. So the current issues that are happening are metaphoric expressions of the past things and experiences that have happened. So let me give you an example. So let's say, and I use this example a lot, but let's say a little girl, 12 years old, and she watched her dad mistreat her mom over and over and over again. So in her mind, that's her model of how men treat women, let's say. And so 25 years later, she attracts a guy who's not treating her right? And then she breaks up with him, and she treats another guy, and he doesn't treat her right. So the idea is that she's attracting what she's holding inside, which is her model of how men treat women from when she was a child. That's just kind of a simplistic way to show that the boyfriend that she attracted that didn't treat her right was a metaphoric expression of her dad, how her dad treats her mom. So what we do, if she came to me as a client, she might say, Mark, I want to be able to attract a nice guy, or attract, someone to fall in love with. We're trained to ask questions, as you know, to get to, well, when in your life did you, we ask questions kind of to investigate her past. And so we will eventually get to how her dad treated her mom. So we'll go to those memories, and we will change those memories. We'll change her representation of how men treat women. And when we do that, and we actually rewrite it so that she experiences her dad treating her mom in a great way. We actually rewrite the memory. Now, that doesn't change what happened. It just changes how she holds it inside. So when we do that, that affects your beliefs. That affects your beliefs. That affects a lot of things. So maybe her belief could have been all men are assholes. If she had a few experience and she got her heart broken, men can't be trusted, right? This all stems from the experiences from the past that we change, we rewrite them. And as we do that, the metaphoric expressions can change and the current issues can improve. And so you attract from now the new rewrites and the new feel goods and the new stories of how a man treats a woman. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it totally does. I was doing it asking more for the, people who are watching as well.
Yeah, right. You understand all this. Yeah,
of course. And, I love this work because of that. I think that it's super important. I had a couple of people not quite understand because I know science is coming out with, neuroscience is really coming out
Absolutely.
about memories and things like that. And I find that to be very fascinating. And as you know, they say that each time we go back to a memory, it's distorted. We either add something or something's taken away from it. And so there's that old example is to say, if your siblings, you're all at the table, you all remember that turkey dinner or whatever. But everybody's like, well, I don't remember that. I remember that such and such, and it kind of, that's an example of it. And I had a few people that I actually know that found this to be quite, for whatever reason, just they had a difficult time, I think, accepting this. And they thought that people were manipulating, that as practitioners, you're manipulating somebody's mind. But of course, we're not going to get into all the science of it, but definitely, I don't know if you want to address that a little bit too, if you feel you don't need to, but just that this is science-based as well.
Yeah, it totally is science-based. And you're exactly right. Every time we visit a memory, we update it. So if I visit a memory, I mean, that's how people can that's how mental illness can happen. You think about something that happens, and every time you think about it, and if you're in a bad mood, you think about it, you add that bad feeling to the memory, which makes it grow. And then you overthink it, you think about it again, and it can turn into an awful thing. Now, with faster EFT, and like you said, this is neuroscience. If I think about the memory and then tap, or think about the memory and kind of have a good feeling, then I'm kind of breaking the trance of that bad feeling, and I'm scratching the record of it. And if I keep doing that in and out, then I can think about whatever used to bother me, and I can't let it bother me because we're scratching the record, we're breaking the trance, and we're the neural pathway. So neuroplasticians know that neurons that are wired together, that are fired together, are wired
together. Mm-hmm.
Right. So as you know all this stuff. So that's how we can link, let's say popcorn, eating popcorn. I used to eat popcorn with my grandma when I was 12 years old, and grandma represents love. Right. So I link popcorn and love, the neural pathways. So every time I'm eating popcorn, I feel this love feeling. I see grandma's face, and the neurons are firing and wiring together. Well, that might turn into an addiction with popcorn later, or,
That's a great example. That's a great example. And it's, our audience is going to understand the linking too with that, right? Because it's not always, So that's really what's important. So I wanted to ask you a little bit, because I'm about this, what kind of we all call the happy hype, right? Where this is another experience that no longer triggers me in a negative way. But at first it was like I'd roll my eyes, because it was, you can't think of anything negative. You can't be negative. And, I only, it's like shunning and avoiding anything that's negative. And of course, my belief, or how I'm kind of planted, on the earth plane, and going like, well, we can't deny that certain things are happening. And also I don't want to deny the fact especially for some women, it's been quite taboo for a long time. At least maybe I'm the last generation to have that where, you can't really display or show anger. It's just not very becoming. I think it's not just cultural. I think it's just, so I'm just thinking, every time, and I've talked to many of my clients and women clients, it's like, oh, they don't want to be portrayed as a bitch or something, because those are the labels. So why I'm asking you is that every time there's something that can be negative, it's like, oh, I just want to think happy thoughts. I just want to be happy. Is there anything that you would, because people link it to the law of attraction.
Right.
And they say, well, I don't want to be attracted. Don't give me that. I don't want to.
Right.
So what is that? What do you think of that? What's your opinion?
Yeah, that's good. And there's a lot of aspects to that. The biggest aspect that I think of is a control thing, right? So, I don't want to be around, I don't want to hear the negativity.
Yes.
It's going to come into me and it's going to make me think, well, just that feeling is sent out to the universe that I'm not safe and that I have to control my thoughts and I have to control my environment, right? So I can understand that in the beginning when people learn that, they want to, the idea about being around positive people and positive influences. But we really want to get away from the idea of controlling our environment, because when you're controlling your environment, again, you're sending out a message saying, I'm not safe and I need to control things in order to make myself safe. And you're just going to attract, give you an example. If I don't want to hear any negative thoughts and I feel like I have to control, let's say my friends, and I want to get rid of negative people, I'm just going to attract more negative people because I'm sending out to the universe that I'm not safe and I don't want negativity. Well, the universe doesn't hear I don't want. It just hears what you're focused on. And it's really hearing I want. Does that make sense?
It totally does. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree with that completely. That is something that I did resonate with,
Right.
with that fact of, and I was involved a lot in the sort of new age community, wherever I kind of lived. And it's just sort of reverberates that, right? This sort of limiting, it's sort of limiting, because I remember one time with a friend of mine, we were talking and I used, I know Robert doesn't like the boundaries thing, but just for the sake of it, we all, establishing personal and healthy boundaries, whatever. But I remember years ago using that term, and she said, no, stop. And she totally stopped me from, I was trying to say something and she interrupted me to tell me and to lecture me about how she didn't want to hear that word boundaries, because it was like, and it was just, I remember feeling like, I felt very censored.
Right.
And so.
Doesn't feel good, does it?
It doesn't feel good, because then all of a sudden I have to change my language completely in order to not either offend or, it just felt, and in fact, to be honest with you, I was reluctant to sort of share things because she had a habit. And I thought, well, that's my limitation. At first I believed it was me. And then it was like, it's just the way she's holding on to those words.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And like you said, it's tricky. So the tricky thing is, if I have friends who I think are negative, or if I'm around negative people, the more I focus on that they're negative, the more I'm going to, I guess, attract it out of them, or at least see from my lens more of the negativity. So the idea of not needing to control my environment is to maybe think about the positive aspects of the people around me. And the more I think about the positive aspects of the people around me, the more I can just see that and attract. I say attract that out of them, but maybe scientists will just say, well, your lens is different. So maybe Robert Smith would say, you're just seeing now what you're holding. So if I'm really focusing on, what I like about these people, then I'll just see more of that. So that's a way of not trying to control your environment, but to be okay with where you are and people not needing to be different. Now that's easier said than done. And that's an art. There's an art to that. And that's what I've been kind of trying to do. That's my work. That's what I try to do, to work. How can I be okay in any environment without needing to control my environment?
Yeah, I really find that fascinating.
Yeah.
Can you give us another example of that? Like, I don't know if someone has road rage or going to the grocery store and being like, really, could that be
Yeah.
applicable to that as well?
Sure. I find myself rushing around, and when I'm rushing,
Got
if
it.
I'm behind a slow driver, it can it can piss me off.
Yeah.
But let's see. So what I guess what most people would do is they would get mad at the person who's slow. Ah, they're making me late, that type of thing. You know? So what I do and what I try to do is like, okay, what's going on? What's going on with me? Okay, well, I'm rushing because I'm late. And I also have programs about time, and I need to do some more tapping and to work on some of my time programs because I sometimes rush around a lot, but there's also a thrill to that for me that I can do some more tapping on. But I just kind of look at, instead of blaming the other person, I can look at what's going on with me, knowing that I can tap on that and I can work, and maybe I can leave earlier and I guess take responsibility for what's upsetting me. So I don't know if that speaks to what you're asking, but with road rage, that's how I kind of think of it. Looking within instead of blaming the other person.
And also for those who, I know in my community, a lot of people are new to law of attraction, or they don't have a real keen understanding of, and that's why I was asking you these questions. But I find that very interesting, not controlling your environment. And you were saying earlier, with my session with you earlier was about taking responsibility, is not about blaming yourself either. It's not
Exactly.
like, oh, I'm going to get the whip and start punishing myself, but it's about, and you articulated it so well. Do you remember, would you want to speak to that when people say, because I think people don't, and let me just say this,
Yeah.
it's a hard concept for many people, and even for myself at times to depending on my mood, to explain it, but this concept about taking personal responsibility.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you want to
Sure. Yeah. It isn't a blame thing. So if you look at, so it's easy to kind of blame your boss or your spouse or Trump or the economy. It's easier to do that. And when there's a new way of looking at that, if I was the one who was like to blame those things, and you would come up to me and say, well, no, you have to take responsibility. At first it feels like, oh, that means I'm to blame. And people don't want to feel bad about themselves. But it's not a blame thing. It's an empowerment thing. If I know that I control how I perceive things and how I perceive Trump and how I let Trump, for example, rile me up, well, I'm being riled up. He's not doing it to me. So do I blame myself for being riled up? No, I just say, oh, I'm in control here. I'm empowered. I can do something about that. And the same thing with how I react to my spouse. Every time she does this, I get pissed off. She does this to me. But then by saying, oh, wait a second, I'm reacting to her for some reason. And there's something in me that is reacting. Now, do I blame myself and beat up on myself about that? No, it's just saying, oh, wait, I'm in control. I can't control her, and I can't control Trump, and I really can't control the economy. I can control how I feel about it all. So that, to me, that's an empowering thought. It's not a kind of a blaming thing, something to come down on ourselves. It's to say, oh, okay, I can do something about that. So if you believe in the law of attraction, that helps, because if you don't, then you just think things happen to you.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
That's key. Yeah.
That's right. That's
Right.
excellent. I really like that you explained it that way, because actually that is one of the topics I think that um, that's really important. And I think that one of the things that's difficult as well is that we I don't know about the law of attraction, but I like to be around people who also think differently than me. I also like to do research that is maybe not in my belief system. And I like to do that. I kind of like thought-provoking things. I like to expand my consciousness and my
Yeah.
intellect. And so I don't always want people to agree with me or to, I don't know if that makes sense. So I
Yeah.
don't feel the one thing I can say about my own self, I've got my own programming, but the one thing is that I'm always open to changing my mind about people, about the way I see things always. And I think it does come to the fact that I want to be at peace,
Yeah.
and I also want to see things, there's other people, there's their perspective or what have you. And so, yeah, I think that's a difficult one. And I've seen in the New Age community a lot of times, people, or I see it like on Instagram or other social media where people are really preaching peace and love. And then it's like they're judging
Right.
like it's like, oh, you shouldn't eat meat, and I'm a vegan, how could they do this? Or it could be like against, because I always think like for me, where I'm at in my personal development is even just before the faster EFT, is I don't want to be in that hate
Right.
mode. It doesn't feel good. It
Right.
doesn't feel good to be angry.
No, it doesn't. And it's bad for you. And, it also reminds me of, what you were saying earlier, as far as, so let's say I get angry, right? So I can do the, what did you call it? The happy hype? Yeah. I
Yeah.
can do the happy hype. Oh, I'm not angry. I want to be happy, happy, happy.
Yeah.
And so what that really does is not deal with the fact that I'm angry, and just, so I know your example was two different people, but you can do it also with yourself, where you can try to avoid being angry and not think about it and try to make yourself happy. Well, that doesn't usually work, because if you're angry about something, it's something to be dealt with. Now, the other side of that is to get down on yourself for being angry and beat up on yourself for being angry and be angry at yourself for being angry. That's not what you want to do either, right? So what you want to do is look at it and see what it is, and do a modal, tap on it, tap on your anger, look at the programming behind it. So the idea that what we resist persists. If I resist my anger, and we also don't want to stay in the anger too. So we kind of want to allow it so that we can move through it and maybe tap on it, heal it, and move through it. But we don't want to stay angry. But hey, if I'm angry, there's nothing I can do about it. I'm angry right now. So instead of trying to shut it down or stop that, maybe allow myself to kind of feel it for a while, and then, but don't just keep it there. Tap on it and deal with it. So I think that's kind of an approach to, allowing ourselves to have, the shadow parts of us, the parts that aren't ideal, because we're not always happy. We're not, we
That's
have
right.
negative thoughts, and
That's right. No, that's excellent. I really like that. Yeah. One of the things I need to really tap on as well, and I do on my own, is really the hypocrisy. It's easier for me to deal with someone's transparency than to say I am about peace and love, but then I'm going to marginalize because I have my biases, because you might believe in something that I don't, or believe in a policy, even politics that I don't. And I think it's not even about that. That's really, to me, the true difference is respecting people, not so much by the color of their skin, but really by the way they may perceive and accept it as is. I think there's a lot of peace when we can accept people, as they are.
That's really good. Yeah. They're doing the best they can. They have a belief system, and they got there for some
That's
reason.
right.
For some reason, and that's their upbringing, and that's their perspective and perception, and they're doing the best they can. Right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. This is great. Yeah. Any tips that you would like to, I don't know, maybe dispense, or any suggestions for people who are saying, any book recommendations, something about when they find themselves maybe, behind that, in their car getting road rage or something, just something.
Yeah. There's some tips and some suggestions. So, first, the tapping, I really think looking into how to tap on yourself, faster EFT tapping is the best tool out there, I think.
There is.
How to
Yeah,
deal
for
with
me too.
Yeah,
I do
right?
it too. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a book by Joshua called A Perception of Reality.
Okay.
And it's an advanced law of attraction book, but it's simple. So,
You recommended it to me. I still need to get it.
did you? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I need to get
I
that.
love that book.
Okay.
I think that's one of the best law of attraction books out there. And I recommended it to some people, and it's changed their lives in some respects. And then a few people, like, they just couldn't get it and they're not ready for it. That's fine. But check that book out.
Okay.
I also really believe in the happy journal that Faster EFT talks about. And basically, I believe in a daily process, right? So something to do every day, a daily process to get yourself in a good feeling place. So the happy journal would be, it's more than just what it sounds like. It's 5 different things you can do daily, and you don't do all 5 of them daily. But one of them is affirmations. Say a few affirmations that make you feel good, 2 to 3 times. You can write them down, 2 or 3 affirmations, let's say in the morning. And then the other one is what you're grateful for. 2 or 3, let's say, 2 to 5 things you're grateful for every day. And then there's a section in the Happy Journal called goals and dreams. But you're not going to write down your goals and dreams every day. So I like to, for everyday positive process, I like to use intentions, positive general intentions. What are my intentions for today? I just want to feel good. I just want to be, I want to look for things to be grateful for today. I want to be light. I want to be more accepting of people. I want to be more accepting of myself. So positive general intentions of the day. And then another aspect of Happy Journal is to write down good memories that you come across, or good experiences. They can be the smallest little thing. You could be at Starbucks and someone was really nice. They gave you a nice smile. Someone made you laugh. Write that down in your Happy Journal. Yeah.
Sorry.
No problem. Because the idea is that what we practice, and what we keep practicing and going over in our mind is what we're going to attract.
Absolutely.
So doing the Happy Journal, something like that, as an everyday daily process, is really good. It's a really good, and it sounds kind of corny maybe, or it sounds like, I don't want to do that. But this is life-changing habit that if we get into, and if you get into it, it's going to make a big difference in your life. And you just keep it up, stick with it, and you'll start to see how
Absolutely. I think that I like the way you do your happy journals, and I've shared a page of yours one time that actually it even might be on the YouTube channel. But yeah, those are great. And I think that people are going to be more attracted to the Faster EFT and understand it a little bit better. The happy journal is huge. It definitely
huge,
is.
right?
I totally, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this is exciting. I'm so happy that you've, come on. And I don't know, any last words? I mean, I could just talk to you forever, and I hope we can do this again. I know that you've got a busy schedule, but I would love to.
I always love talking to you. Yeah, it's good stuff. I mean, I guess the idea is, just lighten up on ourselves and lighten up when we're not lightened up, right? I mean, right there. I mean, it's not really what happens to us. It's what we think about and do with what happens to us can be the real thing that can spiral us down. So even if I'm not in a good mood today, well, how do I think about that? I can say, I should know better. I've been doing this work and this new age stuff, and I've been doing the happy journal, and I don't feel good. I should feel good. Well, that kind of thinking really adds to the not feeling good, and it can really snowball from there. So kind of lighten up on even not feeling good. And
that's really beautiful. I love that. It's a real delicate, it just even when you say that, there's a delicate balance between, when to sort of push the gas pedal, or when to kind of, just relax a little bit. It sounds almost like I kind of feel like contraction and then just expansion, and almost just kind of breathing, sort of, so to speak, into that. Because I know surrendering is another thing that sometimes people distort. They don't really quite maybe understand the definition of that.
Yeah, because surrendering sounds giving up. Like it sounds like, oh, if I surrender, I'm giving up, and you're not giving up. That's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, it is a whole nother conversation. But this is great. This is so good.
This is fun.
Thank you for doing this, and I will definitely be having your information in the caption once I get this video up, and your website or your information. You can send that to me, and then I'll plug it in.
Sure. Yeah. The podcast, I do have a podcast episode on the Happy Journal. And it's
good.
Different thing. So
good. So just pass me that information, and I'll put it in the caption so that people can go to that. And in the meantime, I appreciate it. And I just really want to say that you truly are one of like my favorite people. You, of course, Robert, and then you, I found your Facebook page and really just resonated. You just seem to be so grounded with the law of attraction, and just have been a very positive influence. And I love the way you work. And so just such a privilege, honestly. So thank you, and look forward to the next time.
Sandra, that means a lot. And I think the same about you. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'll be talking soon then.
Absolutely.
We'll get it done.
You will.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, son.